I had never been to Savannah before 1998. I didn't go for the history, the architecture, or the famous Spanish moss dripping from the trees like old lace. I went because my grandmother was dying. She had lived in the same house for almost 50 years, one of those tall, narrow row homes in the Victorian district, just off Forsyth Park. I hadn't seen her since I was a teenager. Family tension, I suppose. My mother died when I was young, and my father, her only child, never quite recovered. We drifted, and the old house drifted with us, untouched and forgotten. But when the call came in late February that she was in hospice, I went. Alone. Just me in a suitcase, heading down I-95 in a borrowed Buick. The house looked exactly like I remembered it. 3 stories, pale yellow with white trim, an iron gate out front, and a tall camellia bush half swallowing the porch. The key was under the mat, just like she said it would be. Inside, it smelled like mothballs and dust and the faint sweetness of dried roses. The furniture hadn't moved in decades. Lace curtains, doilies on everything, portraits of ancestors staring out from gold frames like judges in a courtroom. I planned to stay 2 nights, just long enough to meet the lawyer, settle the paperwork, and decide whether to sell or renovate. But that first night changed everything. It started with a bell. I was in the upstairs bedroom, my grandmother's old room, when I heard it. A single chime. Not the doorbell, and not the grandfather clock in the hall, which had long since stopped working. This sound was delicate, bright, almost musical. I thought maybe I imagined it. But then it rang again. Not loud, not near, just distant, as if coming from another room. I followed it. The second floor was quiet, but I felt a pull toward the back of the hall, where a narrow staircase led to the attic. I hadn't been up there since I was a kid, and even then I was afraid of it. My grandmother used to call it the bell room, though no one ever explained why. I opened the door. The air was cooler up there. Not cold, just still. The light was weak, just a single hanging bulb, and the space was cluttered with trunks, boxes, and old furniture draped in yellowed sheets. I stepped carefully, avoiding the soft spots in the floorboards. That's when the bell rang again. Clear, unmistakable. It came from a small wooden box sitting on a table in the far corner of the attic. I remembered it vaguely. A music box, perhaps. It was made of mahogany, carved with little floral patterns, and topped with a silver handle shaped like a bell. I reached for it, then paused. It was vibrating. Not much, just a soft hum, like it was alive. I opened the lid. There was no music, no gears turning, just a small brass bell nestled inside, sitting on faded velvet. I reached in and touched it. The attic changed. Suddenly, the air was colder, biting, sharp. The light dimmed. The bell in my hand felt warm, almost pulsing. Behind me, the attic door slammed shut. Then the shadows began to move. Not shapes, exactly. More like impressions, spaces where light bent wrong, where the edges of things blurred and deepened. I felt something pass behind me, just out of reach, and then a loud crash as a box fell over on its own. I backed toward the door, and the bell rang again. Not from the box this time, from somewhere above me. I looked up and saw nothing, but I heard something. A whisper, faint, just behind my ear. I turned quickly, but there was no one there. Then the attic breathed. That's the only way I can describe it. The air pushed inward, as if the whole space had inhaled at once, and I felt a weight settle over me. The temperature dropped again. My breath fogged in front of me. And then came the sound of footsteps, light, quick, and coming closer. I gripped the bell instinctively. A voice rose from the silence. Not speech, not even a scream, just a sound full of sorrow, heavy, wordless. It washed over me like a memory. I didn't run. I should have, but I didn't. Something about the presence wasn't malicious, just deeply sad, wounded, lost. I whispered into the empty attic that I meant no harm, that I was her grandson, that I came to close the house and let her rest. The shadows quieted. The air warmed slightly. Then the bell rang one last time. This time it triggered something in me, a vivid flash of memory. I saw my grandmother younger, standing in this very room holding the same bell, crying, speaking softly to someone unseen. I realized then what this room had been. Not storage, not an attic. It was a place of grief. She had lost a daughter in this house, not my mother, someone else. A baby girl, born too soon in the winter of 1952. There had been complications, infection and silence. No funeral, no grave, only this room. I opened one of the old trunks, and inside were toys, tiny shoes, a baby blanket, a silver rattle, and journals, pages and pages of letters written by my grandmother to a daughter who never grew up. The bell was part of it. A ritual, maybe, a way to reach her, a hope that the sound would carry into whatever place the spirit of a child might linger. I lit a candle, sat with the bell in my lap. I spoke, not as a stranger, but as family. I said the name I found in the journal, Eleanor, and told her it was time to rest. The shadows didn't leave immediately, but they softened. The cold receded, and as I left the attic, I felt a warmth pass through me, a final breath, a parting touch. Not frightening, gentle, grateful. That night I slept without fear. No more bells, no more whispers. The house was quiet, and it stayed that way. I kept the bell, not as a warning, but as a remembrance. I placed it on the mantel when I returned home, and every now and then, when I dust it, I feel a peace settle around me. Whatever pain lingered in that house had lifted, and for the first time in years I felt my family's silence begin to heal.